Welcome to Bear Era. Glad you could join us on this Wednesday that feels like a Thursday. I'm not exactly sure how that's going, but that's the week we're having. We're coming to you live this week to talk about why the Bears fell apart versus the Ravens and what should be a winnable game versus Cincinnati. So, with that, Karen, we were hopeful that the game against Baltimore was going to be a winnable game. Didn't turn out that way. We'll dig into it. We'll both pull a thought out of that. And then something we're going to focus on for Cincinnati. We'll get to your questions as well. So let's just sort of tear the Band-Aid off and do the postmortem on the game versus Baltimore. What went wrong and what was your sort of major focus or disappointment in that game?
Might be quicker to say what went right. Not a lot went right in that game. The offense was not very good. The defense was not very good. And the special teams was not very good. It's a disappointing one because it's a game you should have won. Because you're coming up against a backup quarterback. I know you're away from home. But still, it's a game that the Bears should have won. And they just didn't perform. Like, even if the Bears put together a drive at the end, to me, it didn't matter because they did not deserve to win that football game. The Ravens deserved to win. Mm-hmm. Even if, like, the Bears, like, made mistakes and things, but, like, they just got outplayed. They got out-hustled. The Ravens were there, ready to compete. The Bears were not, and you could quite clearly see that. It was very obvious that was a Bears team that had played 3 games in, I think it was 14 days, and the Ravens basically this was their first game in about 11 days. So it was very clear that that was the case, but again, there's no excuses. The team didn't perform. The injuries maybe caught up a little bit, but still, running game went back to being non-existent again. Caleb Williams did not have a very good game. It was not as bad as people online wanted to be. He was fine. He wasn't good. He wasn't bad. But the defense, 3 pressures in the entire game. You're paying over $50 million this year in your D-line, and you're getting 3 pressures against a Ravens offensive line that has been giving up quite a lot of pressures, and their quarterbacks that have been hurried pretty much in every single game against a backup quarterback. Not good enough. You can blame our quarterback all you want for the interception was bad, but end of the day, you can't pressure the opposing quarterback, and if you're not doing that, you better be elite in coverage. And this team has lost way too many players to be elite in coverage, and ultimately it all caught up, and it turned out to be a horrible game for the Bears. They couldn't get anything done on offense or defense, and sometimes when that happens, it's just one of those weeks where you deserve to lose, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I don't disagree in terms of a lot of things that we thought they had solved. And as football fans and analysts and everything else, we say, no, I've seen that team do it. Okay, cool. They can do it whenever they want to. Not the case. And the Bears backslid in this one. There's no other way to say it. Their running game regressed. Their discipline with penalties also regressed. 11 penalties for 79 yards. That disrupted a lot of drives. Caleb was a lot sharper than a lot of people say he was. If you listen again to the comments, it sounds, I saw some podcast this morning that said, will Caleb Williams be benched? And I was like, whoa, okay, what are we doing here? Like, Caleb Williams was top half of the NFL in pretty much every metric. He was right in the middle on some. He was 3rd or 4th in others. And you're talking about benching that guy for what? Like, that's not the point. The interception was horrendous. It was on Caleb. It was a bad throw. If you think top quarterbacks don't have bad interceptions, you're kidding yourself. They do. Sometimes they get away with them. The DB drops them. Sometimes they don't, but they all have them. And I don't care whether you're talking about Matthew Stafford or, pick your top quarterback that you like here. Lamar throws them when he's healthy. Josh Allen throws occasional interception and has others dropped. Like, everybody has interceptions. That's noise. If you look at the rest of it, could he have been sharper? Sure. Absolutely. Was he pretty darn sharp as it was? If you watch that first drive, like the first drive on script, going down the field, the first 11 plays, run, pass, doesn't matter. They marched on the Ravens. They look completely confident and like they're just going to run over that team. And doesn't happen. They stall out inside the 5. They try a couple of inside runs, which will lead to my point. They have a penalty again, pre-snap motion, and it ends up being 3rd and 6. They get stuffed. They get a field goal. 13 play drive. They get a field goal, and that was kind of the warning flag for the entire day. Like, oh, it's going to go like this. But in terms of the run, the Bears know they're not an inside running team. They tried to be a little bit the week before Baltimore. Against Baltimore, I think they knew better. They didn't try at all. So again, in week 7, Chicago tried 10 inside runs, and they got 4.5 yards per, which was good. Against Baltimore, they only tried 4, and they got 3.5. So they knew they weren't an inside run team. Baltimore also, if you watch the defense, knew Chicago was not an inside run team. They had their linebackers flowing to the outside gaps. They were counting on their defensive tackles, who were quite good, to man A and B, and they were going to the outside. Kyle Hamilton, Roquan, even Nate Wiggins, everybody crashing to the outside to stop the Bears' primary weapon, which is outside zone runs. Again, in the week before Baltimore, they ran outside 18 times and they got almost 7 yards a carry, versus Baltimore. They ran outside 11 times and they got 2.45 yards per carry. That is not sustainable. That's not going to keep drives going. So again, Roquan, Kyle Hamilton, who is really their Kyler Gordon, their sort of defensive chess piece. They can move all over and just disrupt all kinds of fun things. And Nate Wiggins slammed the door on those outside runs, and they basically dared the Bears to do something else. And the Bears couldn't. They couldn't come back with a counterpunch to the inside. Their passing game wasn't good enough, wasn't sharp enough for the rest of the day. And Baltimore walks away with victory. So, yeah, definitely a winnable game. The Bears will look back on that one and say, I wish we had that. I wish we hadn't made those mistakes. But that happens in every NFL season. And it is, for lack of a better term, very Belichickian. We are on to the Bengals. And the good news is the Bengals should be a winnable game. I've got a bunch of stats about how not great Cincinnati is, but what's your point looking forward to the Bengals game after that tough loss to the Ravens?
Yeah, like you said, just to piggyback on it, I think when the Bears lose, the pile on Caleb Williams is slightly ridiculous. Like the offense as a whole didn't do very well, but again, it comes down to a lot of things. When you are in the red zone, you need to score points. You need to stop kicking field goals, and you need to be able to get touchdowns. Early on in that game, they were in the red zone twice, and they should have scored twice, and they didn't. You do that, and it's a completely different ball game, because then you go up 2 scores, and then it goes back to what we said. If you can start off quick against the Baltimore Ravens, then that team has to force it. You probably win the football game. But when you can't do that and then you end up only kicking field goals, that's where the issues come in. And it's not just a quarterback problem. It isn't. No. Even though people want it to be. It's not. And that is, I think a big part of it is last year. I don't really like bringing up last year, but I think the fact that Jaden Daniels had looked so good last year, people kind of lost track of things when you looked at like the situation they were in. And then a little bit of the same this year, because Drake May has looked good. But I also will say that like Drake May has been very, very good. He's not perfect either. Like he has played very well. His deep ball accuracy is great. And this is what I think people are looking at for Caleb. But they also have to remember that Ben Johnson is trying to get Caleb to play in structure. So that's why when Ben Johnson comes out after the game or the day after and is talking about that was one of Caleb's better games in recent weeks, it's because he was better in structure. It wasn't that it was a top performance. But that's what you have to look at, because long term, and this kind of goes to this week against the Bengals, the ideal is that the system of the offense starts working, not that Caleb just becomes an animal and starts throwing the ball all over the yard, because that's not what Ben Johnson wants to do. The issue goes back to weeks ago, before this winning streak came about, we started talking about this running game. If it does not improve, if they don't bring in players, that it's going to be very hard for Ben Johnson to instill the offense that he wants to do. And that's exactly what happened. When you're not able to run the ball inside, then it really halts what you can do as an offense, because if you're not getting those carries, if you're not getting kind of third and shorts to where a defense doesn't know if you're going to run the ball or pass the ball and they know that Caleb's going to throw it, then it's a bit easier to defend it. And you saw that very, very, very clearly in the second half of that game. And that is a problem. Did Caleb make mistakes? Yes, but so did the receivers, so did the offensive line. And evidently, when you don't have a running game that mixes to what Ben Johnson really wants to do and wants the offensive identity to be, that's where you see this up and down. Like you go through all the advanced stats and you see all this creativity that the Bears are doing, but then you're asking yourself, why does it not end up in all these points? Well, it's because your bread and butter isn't good right now. Like the basis of the offense is not good. Like I think the last 2 weeks, maybe the way the Bears were running, it was hiding a lot of the deficiencies of this offense. And I go back and forth on this when it comes to like the trade deadline. I really would like to see Ryan Poles make a move of just someone stylistically that will fit this. Because if you find someone that stylistically fit, doesn't have to be like someone that you want to extend long term, just someone that fits the system that Ben Johnson wants to do, I think you will see an uptick in the performance level. Now, against Cincinnati, I think you will be able to do that. They have problems up front. A lot of them up
Yes,
front.
they do.
So you should be able to run the ball on them. And I think you're going to see a better offensive performance because of that. But I think I still want to project this like a little bit further than Cincinnati if they want the offense to look good and to score those red zone trips. If you don't have a really good running game, you're not going to score those because you're asking your quarterback and receivers to be perfect on those passes in the red zone. Because if a defense doesn't believe that you're going to run the ball on them, to me, that's where the problem occurs. So, yeah, I think key thing here is against Cincinnati, you got to be able to be better in the running game. Got to at least make them think you're going to go up the middle. If you can't do that, I would have my concerns, not so much for this game, but moving forward on really defenses are going to know exactly what you're trying to do, and it's going to make the offense look pedestrian when it really isn't. Like what you see Ben Johnson doing, and it doesn't always work out, but you can see the creativity there. You can scope it out that long term this will work, but when you don't have the pieces that are the right fits, you're seeing this up and down performance. And I'd like to see some little things added here to where at least you can see towards the end of this season that stylistically you're like, this makes a lot of sense. This is going to be able to catapult to the next level because guys are being put in the right positions. But I think there's that mix that doesn't quite work. And offense is tricky. You know yourself that one little thing that doesn't work can break apart the entire way the offense is functioning. And to me, that's happening right now. And I don't place the blame just at the quarterback like 90% of people seem to be doing on social media out there. It's not just on Caleb. It's not just on Ben. It's not just on the running backs. But like when you don't have that mix right, everything looks bad. And that's what we saw last week. This week it could all look good, but then again, you're just going to go back and forth again. You're going to keep having the up and down performance. And Ben Johnson is the type of coach, he wants that steady performance where he knows the consistency is going to be there. And until you get to that point, the offense is going to look a bit clunky.
Yeah, and he's building that base, to your point. He's trying to establish those things. Again, do the right things in the right ways, and the results will come. Right now, it's the execution, not necessarily the results. He wants the results for sure, but he knows he's not going to get results down the road if they cobble it together and don't do it from a fundamental sense the way they need to. If the entire team, to your point, doesn't learn this offense and learn the little things, quite frankly, that make it work. And this is from players who've been in that offense. This is from guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, and even Jameson Williams has said it, that again, you can go out and, all players have desires to just make plays. Just give me the ball, coach. And he's like, do it this way and it'll work. It'll all work together. And a really good stat that I heard this week that sort of ties that together, that concept together, is in terms of uncontested throws, Detroit, even this year without Ben, running a variant of his offense, is the team that has the least contested throws in the entire league. They scheme guys open because everybody does the right thing. Everybody runs their route to their depth. Nobody freelances. Everybody sees it the same way. They've got it to a level of polish that they didn't have 2.5 years ago. And again, it comes back to fundamentally, how are we going to execute this offense? And the Bears are still in the learning stages of that. I also saw somebody post a comparison for Jared Goff and Caleb Williams' first, 8 games in Ben Johnson's system. And I was like, well, that's a little disingenuous because Jared Goff had years of experience before he got into Ben Johnson's system. But the point was the acceleration for Jared Goff under Ben's offense didn't come immediately. And a lot of people in hindsight seem to think that it automatically clicked and they were just off to the races. That first half a year, 2/3 of a year under Ben were not tremendous. And then the results started to come because, again, he built the base. He got everybody doing the right thing. So a good news is against the Bengals, there should be a bunch of reprieve here. Caleb should have time. Cincinnati is 28th in sacks per game in the league at only 1.4 per game. The Bengals are dead last in scoring defense, allowing a league high 31.6 points per game. And some X's and O's fun for you. The Bengals defense has struggled against, ring the gong here, outside zone run concepts. They rank 32nd, dead last in the NFL, allowing 6.34 yards per attempt allowed on outside run concepts. That's the Bears' bread and butter. That lines up really well. Furthermore, they are significantly worse facing outside zone to the right. They allow 8 yards per going to the right. Outside runs to the left, only 4.79. Only 4.79. So 2 runs get you a first down pretty much. Darnell Wright legacy game incoming. You heard it here first. Bears love to run to the right. Wright has been blocking up a storm in the run game. Just dial up some outside runs to the right versus the Bengals. You should have success. So those are all things to look forward to with the Bears facing this particular opponent. I'm with you that overall, I'm going to preach patience here. I'll pull up some Caleb stats in a bit because, again, people are like, oh, he's so disappointing. He's so, he should be benched. And I'm like, what do you think you're going to get if you bench him? Like, he's middle of the league to above in most statistical categories that I consider to matter. And you're thinking that magically there's going to be a different player that's going to be better than that? Like, they're not. He's good. He's in the middle. He's getting better. Ben sees it. Just trust Ben Johnson. And I don't think that's a fool's errand. I don't think that's misplaced trust. I think that's just a little bit of patience. And he's already playing at a good level. And it does confuse or confound me a little bit when people are just like, he's terrible. And I'm like, no, if you want terrible, like, watch what Andy Dalton did this week. Watch what Kirk Cousins did this week. They were both abjectly terrible. Like, the Bears didn't deserve to win versus Baltimore. Again, that's not all on Caleb, but Caleb, even within that game, was not terrible. Like, not even close. He was mid-pack to above. So just look around the league a little bit, folks, and understand that he is learning. He's learning the offense. He is improving. He does have all the ability you want. And yes, we don't get to see it. We're greedy. We don't get to see it 10 times a game, right? We don't get to see deep shots down the middle. It's just raining bombs and you're putting up 40 points. Like, that's pretty rare in the NFL. Now, will there be games like that? I think there will in the future. I truly believe that. Are we going to see a bunch of them this year? No. Are we going to get, we're going to see plays here and there. They're not going to link together. Consistency is still something that they're searching for in this new regime. And again, I think they've got a lot of the elements. I'm going to hurt you here, Kieran, just for a little bit. Did you see Tank Bigsby's run for Philadelphia this week?
I did not see it.
Okay, good. Don't look. Because the bottom line is the Bears could have and should have, in my opinion, been in on Tank Bigsby. He is a talented running back. He brings something else to the offense. He would have been a nice complement to DeAndre Swift's strengths in this offense. He was available for a very low price. Of course, Howie swooped in and got him. He had a very nice few runs. Yeah, of course. Howie's very good at his job, but Tank Bigsby is a guy. There's a lot of sort of mid-level talent. I think you could go and get. The problem is right now you're going to have to give up a pick for a running back who's kind of mid. I don't want to do that. There's not a ton of guys on practice squads right now because injury rates are up and a lot of those guys are on active rosters, which means, again, you don't just get to sign them to the active roster for free. But Bigsby was available. Jacksonville made that clear. He wasn't necessarily a fit in their system. And I think he would have been a boost to the Chicago running game. I think he would have given them a little bit. And again, you just have to be vigilant as a GM when those opportunities come up. You're not going to be able to make every one of them work. That's just not the way that it works. Sometimes you can't offer the most or the best, or you're not first or anything else, but you cannot just let those things go by the board because you're not going to hit every ball out of the park. You're going to need to take as many swings as you can and collect the best array of talent. Right now, the run game in general, the blocking is okay. It's not bad. I know a lot of fans think it's terrible because the overall run game is terrible, but DeAndre Swift is and has been doing the absolute least with some of the better blocking throughout the league all year long. That's not a new thing. And so I'm with you. A little bit of upgrade at running back talent would make the bedrock of this offense, the basis, what Ben wants to do on a down-to-down basis, week to week, look better on average. So
yeah, and even one of the things I know we've spoken about, like DeAndre Swift's vision. I also worry about Kyle Monongai's vision because there was one particular run where it was bad, and if he hits the right hole, he probably is still running today. So
he's still learning too. Like, he's got a very physical style, and he is a good between the tackles runner. But we talk about this all the time with receivers and quarterbacks, but we don't talk about it all the time with running backs and offensive linemen. There's chemistry, just like there is when you see misses in the passing game. When you see misses in the running game, it's the running back and the offensive line reading things differently. The offensive line blocking in a way that they think the running back is going to take advantage of, the running back making the alternate choice. We saw that against the Ravens. Taven Bryant, for one, popped outside his block on a guard on purpose, just to flash color, just to make Monongai cut back to the inside. Instead of pressing the inside and going outward, Taven Bryant popped to the outside to make him try it. Now, the reaction should have been pressing inside and making Taven go back inside and then going to the outside. But instead, he just kind of went, I was going to go outside. There's a guy outside. And he cut back inside. And of course, Travis Jones and company were waiting for him. And, he ran hard. It was a 2-yard gain. But if he presses inside and pops outside, which again, he's learning as a rookie, he's learning how his blockers are going to go. He's learning how defenders are going to try and manipulate him. He doesn't have all that down yet. And, will he make that run in the future? He might. For the most part, we know DeAndre Swift's not going to, especially in tight spaces. That's just, he never really has. That was a scouting report on him coming out, and he's run that way in the pros. We talked about Philadelphia. That's why they got rid of him. Eagles fans are my mentions all the time going, we told you. And it's like, well, we knew, but it hasn't changed. He is what he is. He's very effective in space outside. He's good in the passing game. He's never going to be great between the tackles and tight space. That's just not his cup of tea.
Yeah, and to what you said about like adding guys, I think Ryan Poles needs to really be looking across the league now, more to do with situation and see what can possibly come up. There's rumors already that the Patriots are out there looking for a running back, which seems bizarre considering they only drafted Travion Henderson. They just don't want to give him the football apparently, which is bizarre. But then you need to look at situations like Carolina, right? Like you have Chuba Hubbard, who was the starter coming in, got paid to be the starter, and then suddenly Rico Dowdle has 2 weeks of like 200 yards. You need to see, well, are they fully invested on keeping both of those guys, or are they willing to move? Considering, look, the Carolina Panthers aren't going anywhere this year. So are they willing to move someone? And it doesn't even have to be them. You can look at the Miami Dolphins, right? Like they have guys, they're going nowhere. Are they willing to make a move? You need, like, Ryan Poles needs to be active here because there's teams that are more willing to move running backs than they would for other positions of need that the Bears have. Like, a team's not just going to move a corner just to move a corner or to move an edge rusher. They're not going to do that, or an interior pass rusher. It's very rare you'll get somebody good at the trade deadline. Running backs you can. And because most teams know that if we're not going anywhere, we can get somebody else in the offseason and it'll work just as well. Like you're not going to get like a Jonathan Taylor or a Saquon Barkley, but like you will get somebody that is available, that is good in this league, and you just need to see, does anybody fit that could potentially come about? And that's what I would really want. Like you mentioned, Tank Bigsby was one where he was drafted last year, but then obviously Etienne started playing better. They drafted Brashel Tootin, and they've gotten other guys as well there. So they just had a bunch of guys there, and Bigsby was the odd man out, but that didn't mean he was a bad running back. You mentioned it before. Similar story in Arizona, right? They've had a bunch of injuries. Obviously, James Conner went down. You had, what was it, DeMercado, you had Michael Carter, you had Bam Knight. Like, they've gone through so many different running backs and they've been able to be successful. So, like, you have to look here at kind of the situation. Is there going to be a team that can move someone? Like we heard recently today that it doesn't look like the Jets are willing to let go of Breece Hall because they want to keep him after this year. And that makes complete sense. That's what we were kind of saying before all of the rumors happened, that it doesn't really make sense to let him go, especially now with Braylon Allen, with him going down for the year.
Yep.
It was very rare. It was just more of the Jets weren't winning games. Would they just want to sell up? But there's probably going to be, I won't be surprised if there's one or two running backs that are traded before the trade deadline, because you see that there are certain guys that they're not going to be these big household names, but Ryan Poles needs to be active because this is something that they need to fix to get that base of the offense, to raise the base of the offense. And the only way you're going to do it is getting somebody that's a proper complement to DeAndre Swift. And I think that could really help this team just look more consistent on a week-to-week basis. If it doesn't, it's going to be up and down for the season. And that's just the way it's going to be. It's going to be like what parts of your offense just match up well against the opposing defense. And then it'll be something that has to get fixed up in the offseason, where you just need to, you don't have to spend millions and millions and millions on somebody that's like an elite running back. You just have to get somebody that fits what the Bears want to do. And if you do that, I think the offense will just look way more consistent, and it'll get to a week to week where you know what to expect from the offense and you'll be satisfied. And maybe we won't have this pile on the quarterback every single week, because I think it's I
don't know that we're getting away from that anytime soon. I hope.
I just think it's like, and this is what infuriates me, and I tweet this out every single week. It's don't get too high, don't get too low. So if Caleb looks unbelievable against the Bengals and throws for 5 touchdowns, don't get overboard. because then you could play against the Giants and you might have a game like you just saw against Baltimore, or a game that you saw the week before where it's the running game. It helps you beat the Giants, for example. And then people start harping on Caleb again. Like, again, this is still a young quarterback, and I do want to make people like remember this. He was not coached last year. Like, he wasn't. Like, he came out and even like
he was just by 4 different people.
Yeah, it's the same guys man. That are or the same guy that's currently coaching Brian Thomas Jr. how not to catch the football. So again, he's probably learning his. I don't like saying treat it as his rookie year because it's not his rookie year, but you need to treat it as this is a brand new system in a professional offense.
Yeah, it's very different than what he did at USC. I think it was Albert Breer came out this week and said people weren't willing to, I think, maybe give the proper weight to the difference between what he was asked to do at USC from an offensive structure standpoint to what he was going to be asked to do in the pros. We're not talking about physical capacity, and I think people confuse the two, like, oh, he can't do it. No, he wasn't asked to do it, and anything that you haven't done before, there's a learning curve. And the learning curve was going to be big no matter what. And having sort of, for lack of a better term, burned his rookie year, he's got to spend it now. And that's more difficult. And he's doing the work. Ben is pleased with his progress. This isn't a friction thing between Caleb and Ben. It is a growing understanding. It is a place where they are going to get to shorthand, but that is not a snap your fingers kind of a thing. That is not a one-off season thing. And they're doing it every week, and we're seeing the results. And again, a little bit of patience. I realize that patience is not a virtue in sports, typically, certainly not sports fandom, but there isn't really a choice because, when you see calls, I saw that call today for benching and I was like, whoa, what are we doing here? That is not going to put your franchise in a better spot. That's going to put your franchise in a worse spot. So with that, I think we should get to some questions. I put out the call on Blue Sky. Go ahead.
Maybe before we get to the questions, we'll play Mike's.
We should absolutely play Mike on the mic. We have a special Mike on the mic this week. I don't want to ruin it, so I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna say Mike on the mic for the week. Enjoy.
Thank you, EJ and Karen, and welcome in to this Halloween edition of the Bear Era podcast. I am from another multiverse, your friendly neighborhood Bears fan, Mike Mercado, and hopefully you guys are having a wonderful Halloween weekend. It sure was a spooky weekend for the Chicago Bears in Baltimore this past Sunday, so hopefully things lighten up a little bit for the Chicago Bears against Cincinnati. And one of the most frustrating conversations in Bears fandom right now is the lack of success for the Chicago Bears offense in the red zone. Now, this has been a theme for the Chicago Bears this entire season. The Bears have only a 47.83% success rate scoring touchdowns in the red zone this season. That is bottom 10 in the NFL. Now, fortunately for the Chicago Bears this Halloween weekend, they are taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who have allowed red zone touchdowns 71% of the time this season, 69% in the last 3 games. You want to quiet down the noise? You're trying to keep pace with the other NFC North teams? Are you looking to show growth as a team? This weekend, you have to show sustainable drives. Avoid dumb penalties and put the ball in the end zone. Give yourself a chance to win your 5th game of the season. Build some confidence for Caleb Williams as he matures in the role of QB1, the face of a franchise. Now, let us see if the Bears can avoid some tricks and come home for some treats this Halloween weekend. Please have a safe Halloween weekend. Enjoy Bears versus Bengals and the rest of the Week 9 slate. I have to go find Spider Baby, head back to my Earth in the multiverse, and we can all enjoy Bears versus Bengals this Halloween weekend. Now back to EJ and Kieran.
I have so many questions. 1, where's the baby? 2, he walked to work in that gear in his nice pink sweater.
I bet he did. Mike would be able to do that. Our very own Mercado. He did a fantastic job on Mike on the Mic this weekend, and he brings up a point which is the perfect lead-in to our Q&A, because I put out a quick call for questions before this one, and Alex Tanberg on Blue Sky says, "Why can't we punch it in when we get to the red zone?" Now, in the Bears' defense, and I don't know if it's much of a defense, their scoring percentage overall is pretty high, but it's field goals, not touchdowns. Their touchdown percentage, as Mike accurately said, is low in the red zone. Their scoring percentage is decent. And why is that? We saw it again on the first drive versus the Ravens, 13-play drive that ends up in a field goal that was inside the 5-yard line before the penalty. So when you don't have what we've been talking about, which is a solid fundamental between the tackles run game, that is the sort of shortest distance between 2 points on a football field. And coaches love to be able to hand it to the big back who just pounds it in. Or if you're Philadelphia, do your tush push. Again, the least number of operations to go wrong on a given play. Bears don't have that luxury. They do not have a good inside run game. There are multiple reasons for that. They're getting decent push from the offensive line, but the reads aren't great from the running back. So they tend to go outside. And if the defense knows that between the tackles is not what you're probably going to do, they can devote one less defender to it. They can devote less resources, which means the other places are flooded. The flats, short ends off the tight, short areas off the tight end, little flat routes. They know that that's where you're going to go. So they can basically just crowd the line and make that happen. Even with all that, we still saw gaps in the defense. There was the play late in the game with DJ where he stops behind a defender. There was a gap on either side. He could have either stopped earlier, kept going, stopped a little bit later, or coasted all the way through along the back line. He didn't do any of those things. He stopped literally behind the defender, and he and Caleb didn't see it the right way. We talked earlier about chemistry between running backs and offensive linemen. Obviously, the chemistry between Caleb and DJ going back to last year is not ideal. They do not see the passing game the same way. They didn't see the last passing offense the same way, and they don't see Ben's the same way. So that is to say, when DJ is reading something on the field, he reads that he should do something different than Caleb believes he should, and you end up seeing these misses over and over again. So you're going to have to clean up that miscommunication for one, because there are always going to be gaps in a defense, even if you can't punch it in between the tackles. But it does limit your opportunities, and it does make the job easier on the defense. So it basically cranks up the degree of difficulty on the offense, because you have a limited number of choices, and the defense basically knows it. So they can, again, flood the areas that you think you can go to more often, making it more difficult. So red zone scoring is going to be difficult until the Bears can dial in that communication, because if they don't execute it at a supremely high level, the advantage is going to be for the defense in those areas, which it typically isn't. And we're going to see that continued low red zone touchdown percentage, maybe high scoring percentage, but too many field goals, not enough sixes.
Yeah, I think the offense as a whole, they're shooting themselves in the foot even in times when the play is right and they're able to score, because you're seeing like silly flags or like near misses, or like you said with DJ. Like if DJ just keeps running for another 2 seconds, Caleb fits it in there, because you could see what Caleb was hoping that DJ does, that he goes across Roquan, and that's an easy touchdown. It's little things like that, and unfortunately, and this is what's tough, and a lot of red zone offense comes down to confidence, that you know exactly what you're doing. Everybody's on the same page. When you go through game after game after game, and it's very stop-start, where sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, guys don't have that same feel, and they're almost desperate to where maybe DJ doesn't move because he thinks, well, I'm open here, but doesn't realize that like there's a defender right in front of him, where Caleb can't afford to fit that in because it could be picked off, and he doesn't want to give up points. So he's being a little bit more, so Caleb's being more conservative. DJ isn't, like, it depends on what that play is, but again, they need to be more in sync. You've seen at times Rome and Caleb have been, but there's been times where the Bears haven't come away with points because Caleb's throwing a touchdown to Rome, but then there's a hold or there's some other flag that happens, and it's little things like that that really does impact it. And more than anywhere else on the field, red zone does come down to confidence and that kind of feel of the offense. And right now, that's not been working. You mentioned it. We spoke about it earlier. It doesn't help if the defense doesn't think you can run it down their throat in the red zone. If the defense thinks that you can just run up the middle and score and you're hard to take down, it makes it harder for your quarterback. Because if you could do that, you could get Caleb on a rollout and then just see who can come free, or you could move it up. I would like to see a bit of Roshan in the red zone and just like
I would like to see any
ball.
of Roshan in terms of we've seen him a little bit. Yeah, no, it's what he's here for.
Good at that, right? Like,
well, he used to be. I don't know that he is anymore. Yeah,
but I guess
there
that's
is another answer.
I guess that's why you try and get somebody that can do that. Like whether it's a cheaper option, get somebody that at least improves you in the red zone to where it makes it easier on Caleb, and it's not where a defense knows he's throwing the football, because then it's easier to defend, especially in the red zone, tighter area. So yeah, a lot of variables, but they just need to figure out a way that they're going to be able to run that offense in the red zone just a little bit more fluid. If they can do that and get a couple of scores, the confidence will go up, and then they'll all think that they're going to be able to score. And sometimes that 1 or 2% extra can help you just that little bit more.
No, I agree. And the red zone is a very difficult place to play in general. Space is compressed, and that means time is compressed. Everything has to happen sharp, and everything has to happen really, really quickly. There isn't time to just scramble around and make things happen. When you're in between the 30s, you've got real estate. You can roll out, you can run away from defenders, wait for guys to uncover, throw passes that hang in the air for a couple of seconds and really extend the play. In the red zone, you don't have that much space. Guys can't run that far. It all has to happen very, very quickly and accurately. And if it doesn't, that's it. Guys throwing the ball out of the end zone and you're kicking a field goal. We've seen a lot of that. So Axel, thanks for the question, and we'll get on to some of the others. I see that Mike is stoking the chat with everybody's favorite Halloween candy. Kieran, what's your favorite Halloween candy? Is it something specific to Ireland, or is it more generic?
Nice chocolate, not the shit that
Good.
you guys have over there.
Yeah, not the wax that's brown colored. Yeah, no, good dark chocolate. I'm with you. Very tasty. I'm a sucker for Reese's stuff. I like, I don't really care whether it's.
She loves it.
I don't care whether it's formed into a pumpkin or a tree or a ghost, or I really don't care. It's Reese's. It's good stuff. This time of year, it's getting cold here. It's, we've had a couple nights right down near freezing, and great time to head out for fires in the fire pit. And making s'mores with the Reese's Dark Thins is, you got to try it if you haven't done it. It's really good stuff. So.
My favorite, candy in general, is a mix. Now, most of our audience won't really know the chocolate version of this, but it's called a Malteser. I'm trying to think what's the. The chocolate with their balls and then it's biscuit on the inside. I don't know what it's called over in the US, but they call Maltesers anyway. Look them up. But you mix that with popcorn.
Ooh,
and it is unbelievable.
Okay, all right.
Everybody I tell this to, they're like, no way, and then they try it and then they do.
They never eat it the same way. Yep. Yeah. That's how you can tell it's a great suggestion. Is people are like 5 years later, they're like, you got me onto that. I've never done it the old way since. You're like, okay, great. That's really good. All right, I'm going to scroll back through some of the questions here. Thanks for everybody for hanging out with us. We appreciate it on short notice, especially. This was just the quickest way to get you the pod this week. So we're going to look going forward. We're going to have a little conversation this week about how we can sort of normalize the schedule and whether we should go to lives or whether we should do recorded pods. If you have feelings about that, certainly drop it in the comments. We'd love to listen to you. We've really just had to sort of run around schedules and now that we're getting into the second half of the season, we might be able to firm it up a little bit and give you a little bit more expectation instead of dropping things on you with like an hour notice. So we appreciate everybody that made time today, everybody that's here and hanging out in this pre-Halloween version of Bear Era. The Bears should send DJ out for some DB help. Any good trade ideas? Okay, first things first. Yes, I think the Bears should move on from DJ, not because I dislike DJ as a player or whatever else, but it is very clear that he is not a fit. And so the player that you think you might be getting and the player that you are actually getting are not the same thing. He is probably more valuable to this point to another team. And that's not a bad position to be in at the trade deadline. A defensive back. Defensive back is tough because the Bears have a lot of defensive backs and they're just not healthy. It's not like they didn't go and get enough. They have enough, but literally 4 of their top 6 were out injured. No team is going to survive that. So if they think Jalen's coming back, sounds like Tyreek might be back this week.
Today.
Yeah, the things will start to fill in. They went out and got CJ Gardner-Johnson, the guy that you love to hate unless he's on your team because he'll be mixing it up. But he too has declined in effectiveness, and he's not really a corner anymore. He's a slot star. Dennis Allen knows exactly what he is. He had him in New Orleans. So that's a good thing. He can be up to speed more quickly. He doesn't have to be a corner. He's going to be a force player in the run game. He's going to be an agitator. We all know that. He is going to annoy slot receivers and tight ends. And again, when you're playing against him, you hate that. When he's wearing your jersey, maybe not so much. Are my hopes super high that he, flips this defense's switch on? No, he'll help against the run for sure. And he will frustrate folks on those short to intermediate routes. More than that, I'm not holding on to it. Defensive back help, as Kieran mentioned earlier, is going to be tough to get in terms of quality young defensive backs. Nobody's going to be giving them up. But could DJ be part of a package for a pass rusher who's not getting used? I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and I was like, well, the Steelers have an untenable defensive budget. They are literally paying the most money to their defense in the entire league. They have the highest payroll on defense in the league. That was before the Watt extension. So now it's just super duper high. They have to look at the pass rushers they have and say, who are we going to keep? And much like the Chiefs with their offensive line, which was the reason the Bears got Joe Thuney, as soon as Creed got paid and then Trey was getting paid and it was like, okay, you can't pay all 3. What are you doing with the third one? Well, they gave Watt the extension. Highsmith is going to get paid. Are they going to pay Herbig as well? Can they pay Herbig as well? So could you ship DJ to the Steelers plus a low pick for a guy like Herbig? That would help the Bears in a couple of ways. It would free up, in my opinion, the wide receiver rotation so that everybody drops into a more natural slot and probably has higher production because, again, the connection between DJ and Caleb has not been great. And I don't really think it's going to improve at this point. They've had, 2 offenses in a couple of years to get this straightened out. And outside of a few instances, it really hasn't been the thing. So I'm with you. Should they move DJ? Yes. Is he a valuable piece to some teams? Yes. The problem is, does it line up for a player, or are you going to have to get a pick back and then make another trade for, another pick to go get what you need? Either probably a backup running back or a backup or designated pass rusher from another team. That would be the most likely that I would see. Good young defensive backs, unless there's some gem. And again, Ryan Poles hasn't been tremendous at spotting late round and undrafted gems. He's been better with defensive backs than he has been with some other positions. So there's a flicker of hope there if there's somebody hanging out on our practice squad, but nobody that's going to come in and sort of turn the tide on defense. Backup running back could get a decent share pretty quickly, and certainly designated pass rusher. They know what they're doing. You basically tell them what their rush lane is, whether or not it's a stunt, and they can come in and give you, 8 to 10 good snaps a game right away.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that I'd be targeting, not for DJ, but in general. So you look at fits within a system. The obvious one, I think, is if you go back to the Saints, obviously, because Dennis Allen was just there, and Alontae Taylor is one where you look at a guy there that might not cost you loads because I think he's a free agent in 2026. So that is an option. You also then go back to what young player is out of favor somewhere that you can bring in and you can coach up. That's probably the more likely one where you're not giving up massive draft capital, because I heard this. I think somebody asked me this question on Monday. Like, would you trade DJ for like a top level corner? And my first response was no, because what do you do when Jalen Johnson is back, Kyler Gordon is back, Tyreek Stevenson is fully healthy, you have your safeties that are fully healthy? You don't want to have traded DJ Moore for someone who's not a starter anymore. Yep. So you have to be careful there. If you can trade DJ Moore to a team that needs a wide receiver, so obvious ones are New York Giants, with Neighbors being out until next year. If they have, obviously, they're kind of in a similar situation with the Steelers, that they have so many edge rushers available, right? Like, they only drafted, was it a year or two ago, they drafted Kayvon Thibodeau. They have Brian Burns. They only used their first round pick on an edge rusher this year as well. They need receivers. If they came to you and were interested in DJ and were willing to let go of an edge rusher, you would do that. If the Jets came to you and were willing to trade one of their guys on the defensive line that you think long term could fit with you, you would do that. You're going to have to be very creative if you're going to let go of DJ for someone, because even if he doesn't fit what the Bears do, you're trading him to a team that think he will fit them and can be a top level receiver. The reality just is, and you mentioned it, like, for whatever reason, him and Caleb just do not have the chemistry. Him and Justin Fields had that chemistry. They got on really well, obviously, on the field, but like, Caleb, you can see the difference when he's throwing the ball to Rome versus when he's throwing the ball to DJ. And maybe it is just that those guys are closer in age. They came out of the same draft. Even Caleb and Luther have, like, when he's thrown the ball to Luther, like, it seems like they're on time, he's on target, and you would like to see him get a little bit more of the ball. It just seems something just doesn't work right with DJ and him. DJ makes catches because DJ is a great wide receiver. The problem is he should be better for what you are paying him to be. And it's all about the allocation of resources. And if you can make a good move DJ on, that allows you to propel Luther to play a more prominent role on your offense, which he should. He's your second round pick, and he has shown flashes. I think it's worth doing, especially because you need something. Because that edge rusher, like, there's another question there if we think that Austin Booker can bring anything, and I'm sorry, until he proves it in the regular season, I'm going to say no, because he's been this like dominant player in preseason for like 2 years now. Sorry, 2 years. But last year when he played any meaningful snaps in the regular season, he was just a guy. So we can't say anything until we see that. Mm-hmm. But again, it's part of a rotation, but you need somebody in there that you feel good about if they get a one-on-one can win those matchups. And right now, there's nobody on that defensive line that's doing that at a consistent level. And they need to find a way to get more pressure without having to bring the house, because you do that and a guy like Jamar Chase this week is going to kill you. He'd probably kill you anyway, but like, if you can't get any pressure without that, you're in a lot of trouble defensively, and that's something that does need to get fixed. And it's not easy to get pass rush. You can't just go into free agency and get it, because most of those good guys are not available. So you have two choices of getting pass rush. Number one, trade. Number two, the draft. And that's it, because you're not getting it anywhere else.
Yeah, you're going to pay a ton. You always overpay in free agency, but for premium positions, you overpay. And the Bears really can't afford to do that. There's a question about whether or not, Luther Burden's ready. And I don't really, this is going to sound weird, but I don't really care if he's ready. He's ready for what they're going to need him to do, because Zaccheaus can be a number 2, and that's fine. Rome is obviously the number 1. We're starting to see Colston Loveland get ramped up in the passing game. They're still going to throw to the running backs. They're still going to try swing screens to Swift. Like, it's very possible that Luther Burden, even if he's your starting slot in this offense, is your 5th or 6th target. Is he ready for a 5th or 6th target share? Sure. Is he ready to come on and be a number 2 wide receiver where he's possibly your 3rd target in the rotation? Probably not yet. He's a rookie. Like, it would be fine to give him some run and see if he is. Is he there right now? He's not, but he doesn't need to be. He needs to be like the 6th best option in your passing game. Is he that right now? I think he is. Absolutely. So I'm not too worried about that piece of it, whether or not DJ goes. And there's sort of that opportunity cost. Whatever targets they're trying to put to DJ right now that are not being resolved for the most part are not going to develop a guy like Luther Burden, are not going to a guy like Colston Loveland, guys that are currently, behind him. They're all going to go up a notch, which means they're going to get a greater percentage of those opportunities and more chances to develop and prove themselves. So I think that's actually a good thing. That is a sort of hidden benefit of moving on from a guy that has, great athletic profile, plays super hard. When he wants to, plays super hard, but just isn't clicking and is worth more to somebody else. That's a perfect time to trade somebody. I think there could be multiple benefits there besides whatever you get back in trade. And I do believe that it might be a thing where you trade DJ for a pick and then use a pick or some combination of other picks to go get the other player, because player for player trades are touchy. They're very hard to complete. Moving DJ would free up a bunch of salary for the Bears, which is very nice, not only for this year, but next year. So that's another sort of hidden cost or hidden opportunity for the Bears there. So it's something they should definitely look at. I'm going to scroll back through the questions. We got a couple more minutes. What do you got, Kieran?
Like, on that, like, long term, the way I see the offense is more of like what you see in Tampa, where you see guys being able to just fit into the role. Like, for example, like Tez Johnson, who's the rookie this year. Like, he's tiny little guy, but like is able to get himself open and make the catch here or there. You saw Cameron Johnson as well, who hasn't done anything except for 1 week when guys went down. You need your Egbukas, like Roma Dunze style, in terms of that talent level. You need the experience in like Zaccheaus, but then you also just need guys that are going to fit the roles, that can maybe only make like 2 or 3 catches a week, but they're very important ones. And you need everybody contributing. And again, DJ, for the amount that he's getting paid, should be doing more. I'm not one just to trade him sake. I think it is one where there has to be a plan in place to how are you going to use it. Like, if you have to trade him to get a pick, you need to know what you're doing, or the pick has to be good. Like, the last thing I would want to see is the Bears trade DJ Moore, get a pick, and then we see how Ryan Poles has spent his money for this team over the last couple of years. The Grady Jarretts of the world, the Dio Adengbos of the world that can't get a pressure. Like, that needs to be better. But yeah, but like I said, if the right deal is there, I'm not opposed to it, because you need more production, and you need more production from different areas. And that's why I always kind of harp on the whole allocation of resources needs to be better. You need to get more production from all over this team. It needs to be very well balanced, and right now that's not the case. And I think a couple of moves and you can get there.
We all hope so as Bears fans, and I think that's something that we forget. We all think that there's different paths, but all the paths are leading to the top of the mountaintop. We all want to get to the same place, which is the Bears being consistent on offense, the Bears being successful, the Bears challenging for playoff spot year after year. And again, I think Ben has a long-term vision. It's his first year. He's got some security. He knows now is the time to do this, and you put the hammer down later once you get that foundation going. But he's kind of trying to build the car as he's driving it. And, you know, he's spending as much time in the garage as he can, but, you know, the NFL season is unrelenting, and it's very hard to do. It's super dynamic. Question way back in the chat from Silver, and this will be one of the last ones we take. Do you think Theo will continue to be our left tackle into next season? Really depends on Theo. You know, in terms of how well he plays this year and how much he develops with that playing time. These are very valuable reps. And we saw an immediate boost in the run game. Immediate boost in the run game when he came in. His pass protection was okay. When he lost not necessarily fast, but I'll say completely. And that's okay. That's not a terrible thing for a guy learning to play left tackle in the pros, but he didn't do it that often. And he strained throughout his reps, which is really important. It gives the offense those few extra seconds they need. And he is, you know, getting better. He's got to put it on film every week. And it's going to get more difficult as defensive coordinators get tape on him and pass rushers get tape on him and see what his tendencies are, what his liabilities are, what he falls for. He's going to have to correct all those things because they are going to do it mercilessly until he corrects it. That's what everybody in the NFL does. That's what their job is. So it depends on him. Are there more talented players on the roster? Well, the sort of age-old debate is whether Darnell Wright's going to move from right to left. I think he has the physical capacity to do it. I would prefer to see the Bears not do that. Tackle class, I'm not far enough into draft prep to tell you whether it's going to be good. It's always limited. It's like pass rusher. If you're going to get a starting left tackle that you are counting on largely for pass protection, you're going to get that player in the first or second round typically. Like, you have to spend a high pick on them. That's just the way it goes. I would like to see Darnell Wright stay at right. He's playing really well there. You know, is Ozzie left? He's not. I think he's a right, if anything. I think he's probably actually a better swing. What are the other options? Braxton's probably not going to be on the team next year. I think that's almost assured. So it's kind of up to Theo. If he does, the Bears will just continue with this crazy tradition of low to no round picks playing left tackle. Charles Leno did it. Braxton did it. Theo will do it possibly. It's a huge benefit for your team if you can make it happen, but he has to play at an NFL median level for left tackle, and that'll be up to him for the rest of the year. So I'm not sure that he will, but it's hard to pay somebody. You're definitely not getting him in free agency. Those guys don't come free. And if you want top level traits to be able to develop into a top flight left tackle, you're not picking that guy in the 5th or 6th round. It's not happening.
No, and realistically, if you have a couple of good left tackles that can potentially be coming out this year, you're probably not going to have a pick high enough to go get them. Like, even in years where there's been more question marks on the tackles, they still go in the top 10. So if the Bears get to where they expect in terms of winning anywhere from 7 to 9 games, you're probably picking 14th or 15th roughly. You're not getting a left tackle at that point. You're going to have to make a trade if you really want to do it. You can get a pass rusher, and that's where it's just going to have to come down to. You just got to be smart when the opportunity arises. Will he be the left tackle based on situation? Probably. Is he going to be a high quality left tackle? Probably not. But again, you just need him to not be bad, because half the left tackles in this league are bad. So if you even have average play at that position,
that's right,
you're fine. And then, like I said, if the opportunity arises where something happens and you're able to get a left tackle, you take it. But it's very difficult for that to take place. Yeah. So you take average while you can, and then if you get the opportunity, you make the upgrade. But for now, I don't think it's a massive problem.
Yeah, and again, it's going to depend on his level of play. But if he is playing average to slightly above, you count it as a win and move on, and you keep the continuity, you keep the chemistry of those 5 guys working together. It is potentially the first time the Bears could go season to season with the same starting five in a long time. And there's benefit to that, right? Having the same offensive line coach and at least 4 of the same 5 guys going into the next season, you are starting at the 201 level. You don't need to go back and establish all the basics again. And that could be a huge benefit for the Bears. That would outweigh any, he's not in the top 10% of left tackles. If he's the same guy and he's predictable and Joe Thuney knows what he's doing over there, that is a big, big boost to the offense in general, to Caleb specifically, but to Ben's offense in general. So hopefully we'll see that kind of stability. Hopefully Benedict continues to rise and play well and learn his lessons and perform at that NFL average level. And, I think just a quick shout out to Roshar as the offensive line coach. He's done great work. Pass protection, if you're watching the film, specifically the All-22, the pass protection this year versus the pass protection last year is like the worst, like high school made movie versus, a Hollywood production. It's like one is a professional grade thing and the other is not. And that difference can't be understated or overstated in terms of how important it is. So credit to Roshar for being a really good offensive line coach. He's certainly had success in the past, and he is having success with the Bears line. And that's not something that should go unnoticed by Bears fans. So we are about out of time for this week, but we hope you enjoyed the live stream. We hope you have a very happy Halloween in whichever way you choose to celebrate or not. If you just want to turn the lights off and sit in the corner, go for it. No worries. I support that. But if you're going to get out and have a good time, dress up as Mike did this week, gather with friends and enjoy it. Be safe about it. And we will see you next week. Again, we will try and get you a little bit more notice next week as to whether we're going to do recorded or live. But I saw your comments that you really like Northwatch and don't want to lose that. I gave the guys the week off this week. They were all pretty happy about that in the middle of an NFL season. They're busy creating content, so a little extra time is a nice gift for them. But they enjoy doing it as well. They enjoy seeing results in the comments too. So don't think Northwatch is going anywhere. Mike on the mic is certainly not going anywhere, and we're not going anywhere either. We will be back in one form or another, and we will see you next week, hopefully talking about a dominant win over the Cincinnati Bengals, which I think is a strong possibility. So until that point, thanks for your support. Don't forget to support our sponsors, Blue Wire and, of course, Homage Clothing. This is one of my Homage hoodies they sent me for their National Parks program. If you need new gear, head to Homage. Use the link in the description. We get a cut of that. It's a great way to support the show. And we will see you next week.
Nice. We're